I'm Pamela. I'm Chief Marketing Officer for Aira, and really privileged that I was thankfully the first employee here, and it was quite lonely when I first joined. We didn't have a name, Aira. We didn't know what we were going to be called. We weren't too sure what the proposition was, but we knew there were heat pumps at the heart of it. So it's absolutely phenomenal to be here today. Thank you for joining us. We're actually in this beautiful hotel, and we thought it was really relevant because this is one of the UK's and London's most sustainable hotels. So we felt this was a great place to host you guys this morning. We're really, really excited. Today we're announcing, ahead of our formal announcement on Monday, that we are launching in the UK. So this is very exciting for us, and we're really here on a mission to decarbonise Europe. And we care deeply about the UK because it's my home market. And like I said, I was first #1 employee here. So this is the most important market, unofficially. But our job here is really decarbonising. Why do we do that? We want to reduce CO2 emissions. And ultimately, we want to save people money on their heating bills. So that's really a massive motivation for us all here. We've got a wonderful lineup of speakers for you over the next sort of 45 minutes. We have Martin Learworth. He is our Aira Group CEO. We have Daniel Saraford. He is our Aira UK CEO. And we're also really lucky to have Stefan Goldgren here, who is Ambassador of Sweden for the UK. So the Ambassador is going to share some thoughts as well. Our first speaker, I'm going to hand over to Stefan Goldgren, and he's going to share his reflections on, bringing Swedish innovation, let's say, and investment here to the UK. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Pamela, and thank you for the invitation to this breakfast meeting. I'm, of course, the person in this room who knows the least about the subject, so I will be brief. Let me first say that I am almost as a recent arrival in the UK as Aira. I came here 3 months ago, so I'm new in this position. But before, I was for 6 years Ambassador of Sweden to Poland, and I got to know Aira there quite recently. Martin and I met, I think, in spring, summer. When Aira arrived in Poland with very high ambitions, also to localize production to Poland, but of course also to bring to the Polish market the solutions that you are now going to offer for the UK market. And I was very impressed both with the level of ambition and the way that you thought about the product, not only the actual units, but also everything around them. And we will hear more about that later from you. Secondly, I'd like to say that it's always, I'm always very happy to welcome new Swedish companies to the UK market. You are a most welcomed member of the family of Swedish businesses in this country. We are well represented, and I would say in particular in the sector of the green transition. But we can always have more. And I think you will fit very well into what we from Sweden can offer in the cooperation with the UK in this very important area. Because this is, of course, for us as consumers, it's about how we can reduce our energy bills. But if we look at it nationally or even globally, this is a very important part on how we can address the existential challenge of climate change. And that is in turn one of the key priorities in our bilateral agenda with the UK. We recently signed at the Prime Minister's level a strategic partnership agreement where one of the areas covered by this agreement is how we can cooperate more closely on energy, the environment and nature. And there is also one section of this agreement dealing with innovation. I think you fit into both of those. Governments can do a lot, but we cannot work only at that level. We need to combine the public and the private sectors. And I'm sure that you will find good opportunities here, and you will also find many interested partners in the UK. We have a very good political dialogue and political relationship with the UK in this area, and I'm sure that you will also find this is a very receptive market and a receptive audience. So with these words, thank you, good luck, and you can always count on the support of the embassy, just like anyone else who wants to increase our cooperation between our two countries. Thank you.
One thing I actually forgot to say was that you guys are very special to us. So this is an under embargo event. We are formally announcing this on Monday, the 27th, 1 minute past midnight. But obviously you guys are getting a sneak peek. So I'm just going to play the video, Martin. Forgot to do that.
The world is in the midst of an energy crisis and a climate change emergency. In a modern, developed society, it's hard to believe that residential heating is the third largest contributor of CO2 emissions across Europe. And hundreds of thousands of families are struggling to pay their gas bills. We believe burning fossil fuels is an outdated solution. We need fresh thinking today for a brighter future. Change is in the air with the power of air. We are Aira. We exist to make a meaningful difference in the world, to unleash and harness the power of air, to accelerate a new era of clean energy tech for every home. With over 100 million homes heat pump ready, we empower people across Europe to join the clean energy revolution. At Aira, we create an affordable and intelligent clean energy tech ecosystem for every home. So you can master the elements and tap into the clean, free energy that's all around you. Aira is a future-proof solution which lowers monthly energy bills and eliminates CO2 emissions with fossil fuel-free energy generation. The power to change our future is here.
Great. First of all, thank you, Stefan, for your support. I think we keep following you wherever you move. So let's see where Stefan moves. That's going to be our next market where we enter. And welcome, everyone. We're very excited to launch Aira in the UK, our third market, and equally excited to share how we all together really can combat one of the biggest challenges we have in Europe, the high dependency on fossil fuels for heating our homes. And I think the good thing is that there is a simple solution to all of this, and I think you saw that from the movie here already. It is electrification of society, and not least the way we heating our homes. A good thing also is that this will save consumers tremendous amount of money, and this is not rocket science. It is all based on readily available technology that is possible to use here and now, and it is actually being used in other parts of Europe with great success since many decades back. So before we dig into Aira, okay, we have this already. I think let's talk a little bit where we are coming from. Aira was founded by Vargas. Vargas is a Swedish impact investor, and Vargas is behind some of the larger industrial ventures in modern time in Scandinavia. To give a few examples, Northvolt, that is Europe's first and biggest battery manufacturer. H2 Green Steel is the world's first and largest fossil-free steel manufacturing plant. And with Aira, we are launching our next equally ambitious venture across Europe. And at Vargas, we have simply analyzed what are the big emitting sectors in Europe, what are the big problem areas, and where can we make an impact. And with Northvolt, we are targeting the transportation sector, making sure that the transportation is becoming electrified by providing the batteries into that sector. H2 Green Steel, it's a steel industry. It's one of the larger emitting industrial segments. But with Aira, I think we are combating a sector which is to some extent forgotten. It's the heating our homes. It is the third largest emitting sector in Europe, not very far behind the transportation sector and the passenger cars. And I don't think we hear so much talk about that. And what really caught our interest when we did this analysis of different sectors is this heat map. And this shows the emissions from European households and what comes from heating our homes. And as you can see, around 10 to 20% of Europe's emissions are actually coming just from heating our homes. In Southern Europe, you also do cooling of your homes, and that adds even more to that mix. So a very, very high share of emissions are coming from this activity. There is one exception, and that is Scandinavia. As you can see, almost 0% of the country's emissions in Northern Europe is coming from heating. And the simple reason is electrification has already happened at a very wide scale over the years. UK, I think, Dan, you know the numbers better, but around 15% of UK's emissions alone just come from heating. And it's probably more if you look at the emissions coming from energy generation that goes into heating. I think most European countries, except the Scandinavian countries, they are still stuck in using old technologies, relying on expensive and dirty oil and gas for our boilers. I would say that almost regardless of what country you go to, and certainly in the UK, if you live in a detached or semi-detached house, I would say 85 to 95% of European households, they actually rely on fossil fuels for their heating. And today, there are around 130 million gas boilers installed across Europe. And every single year, 7 to 9 million of these boilers, they break and they have to be replaced. Unfortunately, a vast majority of these are being replaced with a new gas boiler that will be installed for the next 15 years. And I think if consumers were aware and informed, they would all realize this is not the smartest choice at this time if you want to reduce your energy bills over time. I think that is an important data point, a vast amount of units being put in place. So now is the time to act, and I think there are a number of reasons. I think we all know the increasing urgency for the climate crisis. But after the war in Ukraine, I think Europe is really facing a big energy security crisis as well. Governments across Europe are trying to find out how to reduce the dependency on imported fossil fuels and what to replace that with. And I would say that everything that is replacing that is generating more and more electricity. And the vast majority of the new investments into the energy system is coming from renewable investments. Wind and solar are actually adding quite a lot every year for the additional capacity being installed. But it all generates electricity. We also have the cost of living crisis. Consumers are really struggling paying their bills, not least for energy. I think we all remember last winter across Europe, the skyrocketing cost for energy, heating our homes. And we believe that's here to stay. The cost for energy, certainly fossil fuels, it will keep increasing over time. So that's why today we are launching Aira, trying really to challenge this by introducing a direct-to-consumer brand that will accelerate the electrification of residential heating and really drive the clean energy revolution, the energy transition in society. And with Aira, we are going to provide, or we are providing, energy tech solutions that dramatically reduce CO2 emissions, but equally much reduce the cost for consumers. And I think important here is that we are introducing an affordable monthly model, reducing the need for any upfront payments for consumers, making this accessible and affordable for many, many more households than it has been today. And Aira is built around the unique vertical integration, really providing and taking end-to-end responsibility for consumers, providing a simple, hassle-free customer journey. And we combine that with a quite ambitious industrial strategy. That's how we met Stefan, and I will come back to that and talk more about our gigafactory that we're building for heat pumps. But really, our mission is to make clean energy tech accessible and affordable for every UK household. Our starting point into this energy tech ecosystem, it is with the heat pump at heart, an intelligent heat pump. And the reason for that is, first of all, it is the only way to decarbonize society, to remove the use and dependency on fossil fuels. But heating our homes is also the most energy demanding activity we as consumers have. It is the most polluting activity we have. If you compare a heat pump, moving from gas to an intelligent heat pump, that will save you the amount of CO2 emissions from 2 passenger cars. So you can realize that even though there's a lot of other initiatives ongoing in society, this is one of the most impactful changes you can do as a consumer. But the exciting thing with this energy transition and the energy tech ecosystem is that combining various components together truly unlocks the full savings potential. So we start with a battery, but you will also find that we are providing, for example, batteries for energy storage. Energy storage is a great way to store energy when the energy price is low and use that when the price is high. As I said before, the energy mix, it will become more and more renewable sources into the grid. Wind and solar, that means that it's not plannable to the same extent as traditional energy sources are. So there will be increasing volatility in the energy system. The prices will differ. It's not well spread across Europe yet, but it's coming more and more. Dynamic tariffs or time of use tariffs. So the one who can store energy in the battery and plan the consumption of the heat pump, and the heat pump a house is a huge thermal battery. You can store a lot of energy there. Combining a heat pump together with a solar installation truly unlocks the full potential of a solar panel system installation. Today, self-consumption of a solar system is around 30%. So 70% you can't use and consume yourself, and you sell that back to the grid with, in some cases, a 90% discount. But combining a solar installation with a heat pump, you can double your self-consumption, meaning that instead of buying expensive electricity from the grid, you can actually use what your own solar system and installation produces. All of this is complicated today. And what we are doing at Aira, we are building something which is very simple to use for the end user. So all of this is connected through the Aira app, providing a highly personalized and optimized user experience for each single household. I think this is the future. I'm absolutely confident that in 10 years' time, if you live in your own home, the vast majority of Europeans' homes, they will have their electric vehicle, solar panels, heat pumps, battery for energy storage. And I think we're just scratching the surface. What more to come? So very, very exciting. I speak about heat pumps a lot, but I know that everyone has different, previous experience of this. But let's talk a little bit about what is a heat pump and the magic behind it. So if you have a gas boiler, you burn fossil fuel to heat your home. But the heat pump, you are extracting energy from the outside air. And you do that by using a very small amount of electricity. So if you put 1 kilowatt of electricity into the system, you can extract around 4 kilowatt of heating power. That means a household installing a heat pump, they will actually reduce their energy consumption with 75% and their CO2 emissions between 70 and 100%, depending on how much green electricity you have. But already today, a tremendous saving on energy and emissions from a heat pump. And I think the best thing with a heat pump, and we can talk about the myths later today, and I think Daniel will talk more about it. They are, for most households, easy to install. They are providing much better comfort, and they will dramatically save consumers money. especially when you have the full ecosystem in the future. So despite the obvious reasons to make a switch, unfortunately, the penetration of heat pumps remain very low in many European countries. UK, certainly. It's the penetration in the UK is actually one of the lowest levels across Europe. There are exceptions. Scandinavia, I showed the picture in the beginning. If we take Sweden, my home country, 60% of all households already today have a heat pump. And every single time you build a new home or you upgrade your existing heating system, I would say 99% they install a heat pump. And there are myths about heat pumps and that they are not working. I'm a proud owner of 5 heat pumps myself, and I would not have bought the second, third, and so on if I was not happy with the first one. So we know, after decades of use, that heat pumps are working in the coldest and darkest corner in Europe. So for sure, they are fully workable also in other parts of Europe with much milder climate. So why have adoption rates been so low? I would say, first of all, we have had artificially low gas prices in Europe. In some markets, including the UK, the environmental tax on electricity is actually higher than the gas price itself. That, of course, does not foster any clever movements among consumers, and thereby leading to very low awareness. I think finally, consumers have found that there's a high upfront costs associated with installing a heat pump. I would say today in Europe, the average cost of installing a heat pump is somewhere between, let's say, 15 and 30,000 euro approximately. Scandinavia, significantly cheaper because of a high degree of specialization. And I think it's an industry which has been around for many, many years. But typically, a very high hurdle for consumers to come on board. I think it will be even more money going into this. As I said before, people want to have solar panels, EV chargers, batteries, and a heat pump in their home. We're talking about maybe 40,000, 50,000 euros that consumers will have to invest in order to save money. And that's why we think our monthly plan is so important, making sure that people have an easy way to get on board and can start to save money from the very first day. But this is all about to change in Europe. I think we are now at a tipping point, and we have over the last couple of years seen a rapid increase in the uptake of these solutions. Gas prices are here to stay on high levels. There are more and more carbon taxes coming in play across Europe, and that will not go away. We have the sense of urgency for the climate, energy security, and the rising awareness among consumers. Consumers are now looking for cheaper and smarter alternatives for heating their homes and how they consume energy. And we have generous subsidies in basically every single European country. And UK have most recently increased the subsidy of the grant scheme for heat pumps from £5,000 to £7,500, which makes a big difference. And then, as I said, we remove the upfront payments with our monthly model. What is unique with Aira is our high degree of vertical integration. We take an end-to-end responsibility throughout the customer journey. So we actually design products on our own, products which are not designed for the installer community, which is the case today. We design products with the end user in mind, products designed for fast and simple installation and large-scale manufacturing. And talking about manufacturing, you touched upon that. We are establishing our own gigascale factory in Poland. We've been working very close to Volvo. Volvo have had a successful bus manufacturing plant for Europe in Poland. As Volvo is electrifying their fleet, they are changing where they are manufacturing buses for Europe in the future. So we are actually transforming a bus plant making diesel-fueled buses into a modern heat pump factory. And we're going to get a vast manufacturing capacity and bringing on board the best possible expertise from the automotive space, making sure that we really build products in a very, very efficient way to the benefit of consumers. We are also establishing our own sales force, and that's what you're going to see in the UK, that this is a local business. This is not a digital business. If you want to decarbonize society, you actually have to make a change also in the physical products that we have. To install a heat pump, we have our own sales team. This is an industry with low awareness. It is very important that we provide a trustworthy, consultative approach to customers. Likewise, we are establishing our own installation force here in the UK. We need thousands of employees in order to drive this transition. And that's why we in the UK also are setting up our own Aira academies, training people who are today in the trade of becoming heating engineers, specialized in gas boilers, upskilling them to become heat pump experts as well, but also opening up new job opportunities for other people who are not in this trade today. We are providing financing, very important, and with our financing model, we really take and build a relationship with customers. I think we make our products, we are not a product company in such. We build a long-lasting relationship. A heat pump will be installed for the next 20 years in a household. And it's our job to make sure that we have happy customers and that the clean energy tech solutions that we install, they are working for the next 20 years. So I would say that we build a long-lasting relationship based on our subscription model with customers. As a direct consumer company, we are creating a very clear, distinctive consumer brand, and it will provide a premium experience in every single touch point with our customers. If we look at the market, I think this is just interesting to see the size of it and the importance. As I said before, 7 to 9 million gas boilers, they break every single year. In 10 years' time, the vast majority of those, they will be replaced by intelligent heat pumps. And I think when we look at the numbers, how much consumers will save, that will accelerate the transformation or transition away from where we are today. So around 10 million units should at least be installed every single year across Europe. And if you think about the cost, as I said before, 15 to 30,000 euro per installed in value. With specialization and the way we're working with our own factory, own products, own sales force, high vertical integration, we will take tremendous amount of costs out of this. So let's assume that we have a value of 10,000 euro per installed unit times 10 million. That's just for the heat pump market in Europe, 100 billion. And add everything else on top of that, and you realize we are talking about one of the biggest industries in Europe, which is highly underserved today. I think it's a very, very exciting future that we are having ahead of us. This is Aira today. We are headquartered in Stockholm, but what we do in Sweden is basically R&D and tech. We have our factory in Poland, but this is a local play. Our markets where we are today, we are in Italy, we are in Germany, and today we are launching in UK, saving the best to the last. And our long-term ambition is really to be available across Europe. We will be in 20 European countries within a 10-year time period, serving at least 10 million European homes. Replacing, as I said in the beginning, one gas boiler with an intelligent heat pump, it is the same as taking 2 cars off the street. It has a tremendous impact on the environment. And if you put our 5 million heat pumps in comparison with Tesla, for example, they've sold so far 2.5 million vehicles, and they made quite a splash. So I think the ones doing this in the right way here, they will really leave a mark. So before I finish, I just want to give you 3 takeaways to wrap up the first part of the presentation. Changing to a heat pump, it is the most impactful change consumers can do. And the more I look into this, I realize that installing heat pumps, it's the most cost-efficient and affordable decarbonisation technology available for Europe and European homes. The time is right. There's a strong tailwind, both from a regulatory side, but a rising consumer demand and awareness. And our mission is really to accelerate the electrification of residential heating, making sure that people move away from expensive and dirty oil and gas, installing heat pumps and other clean energy tech products that will save consumers large amount of money, dramatically reduce CO2 emissions, and really fuel the energy transition. So I think that's Aira in a nutshell. And with that, I would like to hand over to you, Daniel.
Thank you very much. Hi everyone, I'm Daniel. I'm CEO for Aira in the UK. Thanks again everyone for coming. We're super happy to have you here. Very excited about the launch on Monday, obviously. And it's also evident that here in the UK we have a significant amount of work ahead of us. 25 million boilers, the largest amount in Europe, with between 1.5 and 2 million replaced every year, still being replaced by fossil fuel boilers. 16% of emissions. And maybe as a personal anecdote to kick this off, when I moved to the UK earlier this year, as a very young 40-year-old man from the suburbs in Sweden, this was the first time in my life, in my rented house, that I had to deal with a gas boiler. And I've lived in Sweden, Finland, Norway, in old houses, new houses, but in my life, before moving here, I had only seen heat pumps. So I don't know how many conversations I've had since moving here about how new the technology of heat pumps is and if they really work. And I can just say for us, coming from sort of Scandinavia, it's the only thing we've seen in our lives. And I think that's also one of the reasons we have to exist and one of the reasons why we believe we have a right to play in this industry across Europe. We bring with us a Scandinavian heritage of scaling up this decades ago, which we think will allow us to have a huge impact and help accelerate the UK as well as the rest of Europe when it comes to the adoption of low carbon heating instead of dirty fossil fuels. And I think I also want to recognize that here in the UK, one of the reasons why adoption has been slow is probably the magnificent engineering that went into building the UK gas network. I mean, decades ago when it was done, it was a marvelous piece of engineering that took us away from coal, which was obviously a lot worse. But I think just like landline telephony was once state-of-the-art infrastructure, it did not prevent us from innovating more modern solutions. And in the same way, we cannot let that piece of engineering that was brilliant infrastructure in the past stand in the way for what is much more modern and efficient solutions in the future. Even though we're launching officially on Monday, the team that's here, we have been truly working around the clock over the last months. And I just want to share some of the highlights of what we've done so far. So in August, we closed the acquisition of All Seasons Energy up in Sheffield, which is one of the UK's leading renewables installations companies, installing insulation, heat pumps, solar panels, battery storage across the UK, which gives us an amazing platform to build from, especially up in the north. A month later in September, which is what we have here, we launched our first hub or regional office, we call them hubs, here in London. So opened up for business and starting to serve customers also here. In October, we pre-launched our website, very much under the radar, and we've been, I think, very positively surprised by the amount of interest so far. We already have our calendars booked up for the rest of the year, so hiring like crazy to meet demand. Hopefully on Monday, we will get even more work. And I mean, today we stand here preparing for the official launch of the company, and we're already a team of 200 people. And I think what's not on this, but what we've also done, which we're very proud of, is we've started to build our first 2 Aira academies, one here in London and one in Sheffield, where we will train hundreds of clean energy technicians and clean energy experts over the years to come, which is a very important part of us meeting our ambitions. Now, Martin talked a little bit about it, but let me tell you a little about what we offer and how we aim to accelerate decarbonization with clean energy tech. First of all, today, the ecosystem of clean energy tech is a very disjointed and fragmented industry with a very complex customer experience. So if you really want to make a change, you really have to invest in understanding and also engaging with multiple companies to get a solution. So really most customers give up and go to what they know from before. We want to make the experience hassle-free, both in terms of bringing all the technologies that you need under one roof, but also in terms of supporting you all the way, from marketing to selling to designing to installing to maintaining the solution. We want to make it accessible and affordable by taking away the upfront hurdle, so making it sort of a pay nothing upfront opportunity for and again, this should not be for affluent people. This should really be lowering energy bills should be something that's available to everyone. We also take away the risk, again, coming from Sweden and have lived with heat pumps my entire life, we know that they work. But we want to take away that risk for consumers who might doubt new technology, even though we know it's not new. And we do that by selling everything with a 10-year comfort guarantee. So any maintenance, any problems you experience, it's on us. It's our job to make it work, and if it doesn't work, you'll get your money back. We're building a vertically integrated team to be able to have capacity to install quickly. So we're guaranteeing installation within 4 weeks if you don't need planning permission. And we can talk about challenges in the UK, and I think planning permissions and DNO applications is certainly one of the headaches that we're already working with and through. But where that is not needed, we will be able to install really quickly. And then last but not least, we want to be that partner or one-stop shop that really holds consumers in their hands and helps them through their energy efficiency and energy savings transition that all houses, like Martin said, will have to go through. And that's a journey we want to be sort of one trusted partner to help you with. It might be that you start with one thing and then add things after time, or you just want help to do everything at once. But just like when you buy an Apple iPhone, you know that it's going to work well with your ecosystem, and then that makes it easy for you and you know it's going to work. We want to be that company, but within clean energy tech. And like Martin said, what's beautiful with this choice for consumers is that it's not a situation where you have to choose the environment or your wallet. You can actually do something that's good both for your pocket and for the planet at the same time. And the reason for that is simply, it starts off with the incredible efficiency of heat pumps versus gas boilers, where you decrease your energy need with 75% or even a little bit more. So even today with the spark spread or the differential between electricity prices and gas in the UK, you still save money on your energy bills. Looking across Europe, that situation is even better than it is here in the UK, but you still save today, and we are certain that with energy taxation in the future and with environmental levies being moved from clean electricity to dirty gas, that saving will increase over time. But also with the new 7,500 boiler upgrade scheme grant, for most families, getting a heat pump will actually be a similar investment to getting a new gas boiler, including a good installation. But the big difference with our all-inclusive plan and the 10-year comfort guarantee is that actually most people pay many times over the cost of their boiler in heating covers for years after year after year of maintaining and servicing your boiler. With that being included in the Aira model, you actually save thousands of pounds by having a much more efficient, actually more low maintenance heat pump. So the total economics is that a family switching their gas boiler to a heat pump will save about 25% of their energy-related bills. And like Martin said, this is a system where as you expand it with the whole ecosystem, the impact compounds. So it's a situation where 1 + 1 does not equal 2, but rather 2.5 or 3. So if you complement your heat pump with solar panels, battery, and take advantage of dynamic electricity tariffs, your total savings will increase from 25% to about 55%. And this includes the amortization of all the equipment that you need. And if you consider that the utility bill for most families is the biggest or one of the biggest expenses that they have every month, being able to cut that in half has a tremendous impact on most families. Besides the economical impact, this is also an incredible choice that all families can make for their children's future and for the planet. So switching from a meat-based diet to a plant-based diet would save you about 1 ton of CO2 per year. Complementing your gas boiler and putting solar panels on the roof to create your own electricity instead of buying it from the grid actually also has about 1 ton of CO2 impact. Parking your car and bicycling with your family for the rest of your life has about 1.5 tons of CO2 impact per year. Whereas addressing the 15,000-20,000 kilowatt hours of gas that you consume every year will take away almost 3 tons, so twice as much as parking your car and never driving it again. And then compounding that with solar panels and battery, you actually get more out than just the ton because you have electrified the heating, so it will save you about 4 to 5 tons per year. And the tremendous thing here is you save money. It has absolutely no impact on your lifestyle choices. You don't have to change a thing in your life by getting a heat pump. And it still will, year after year after year after year, be the best choice that any family can make if they want to support a future that is better or equally good as the one we have, at least, for their children. Someone said that people generally overestimate what they can do in a year, but underestimate what they can do in a decade. And I think we have set ourselves a very big target for what we as Aira should do in the next decade. Martin talked about it on a global level, but here in the UK, we're pledging that we're going to invest £300 million in the next 3 years to build this business. And we're going to do that to prepare for serving 1 million homes in the UK over the next decade. To do that, we need to hire and train 8,000 clean energy experts across functions of the company. And by doing that, again, we roughly, in 10 years' time, create the same CO2 impact in the UK as Tesla did for their first 15 years in business globally. And that's it for the UK. So Pamela, moving over to you.
Thank you, Daniel. Thank you so much, Daniel, for taking us through that. Even when I hear it, and I hear it every day, it astounds me. This is our 3rd market launch in less than 6 months. So we are, not only do we say we're moving with momentum, we actually are doing it. And we really, hopefully you can see, we truly believe in this opportunity.